Let's look at the differences between artistic reform dress and mainstream fashion in the Edwardian era. Hello and welcome, I'm Maria from Sew Through Time, and the year is 1908, and we start in our combination underwear. On the left, you can see the Reform pair. It's made out of cotton and fits much closer to the body than the fashionable lingerie version made out of silk on the right. Reform dress was very concerned with practicality and health. That's why the combinations they fit a lot closer to the body so that it reduces any bulk, whereas mainstream fashion was more concerned with dainty, pretty, lacy things, though it too combines the chemise and drawers to reduce bulk. And next, for the mainstream fashion, I put on a corset. The fashionable shape has a high bust line, a cinched-in waist, and a low hip line, and it typically has garters attached to it, whereas in the reform dress, I'm wearing separate garters that are made out of elastic for comfort and ease, and again, health, or at least in the Edwardian idea of health. And next comes my health corset or reform corset. Though some daring women in the era would only wear a brassiere, most women would opt for a corset even if it was a reform one. These often had elasticated panels or little to no boning. These often had button closures at the front instead of the split metal busk. And because, yet again, the idea is health, they were designed to provide a lot of bust support and some back support without putting any pressure on the diaphragm, because that's what they were really concerned about in the era. They were worried that women would wear their regular boned corsets so tight around their rib cage and their diaphragm that that would restrict the regular movement. And because we're not going for a flat-chested look, you definitely want to scoop and lift up as you button all that corset closed so that you get that now nice rounded shape and bust support that you really want instead of everything just getting squashed. And as for the regular corset, even though it does provide some waist reduction, that typically was only 1 to 3 inches. So we're not talking about any sort of tight lacing here. But despite that, as you can see here, the difference in silhouette is quite drastic. Both provide a straight lower belly and a rounded bust shape, and neither is uncomfortable or restrictive to wear. And next up for the fashionable dress comes the corset cover. This helps smooth out any corset lines and helps keep the bust contained since the cup ends at the apex. If the corset itself was cut lower, it could be worn also with a brassiere. The reform dress doesn't necessarily need one because the corset itself acts as both. And while my reform dress is getting its silk petticoat, I put on my waist or shirt waist. This sort of separate dresses were very typical for morning wear and summer wear. Morning as in the time of day, not the actual act of mourning somebody's loss. Though princess dresses were rising in popularity, or what we would just call a regular dress. And the ties at the waistline keep the waist in the correct shape. The waist still has some blousiness in the front, but not anymore that huge pigeon bust of a few years earlier. And next comes the petticoat. Though the petticoat on the left would still be worn with wider hemmed dresses in the fashionable dress as well, narrower petticoats were coming into fashion. The hip line of both skirts and petticoats is already quite narrow, though it still is curvy. And any fullness in the skirt is reserved for the lower portion, whereas a reform dress prefers loose shapes. And reform jewelry takes inspiration from the arts and crafts movement. But other than that, accessories are kept fairly minimal. From a practicality standpoint, reform dresses rarely have pockets in them, whereas regular fashionable dresses typically do, and it's typically in the back like that. But despite all the differences in silhouette, the side view isn't all that different between the two. Reform dress just is a looser, more bohemian version of fashionable dress. Another major difference that you can see between the two styles is when you go outside, a fashionable woman would always wear a hat, whereas in artistic reform dress, you can sometimes see women going bareheaded. And in fashionable dress, if women had separate bags, they were most often chatelaine bags that would be attached to her belt. Which style do you prefer, the soft flowy reform dress or the more severe fashionable dress? That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button, and if you don't already follow me, remember to hit that bell as well as the follow button so that I'll see you again next time. Bye!